Welcome, friends, curiosity seekers, and connoisseurs of gaming the world over, the realms over. It is I, Angel, GM of Darkeport, and this is the very first video of what I hope to be a long-running and useful, most importantly, series for those who watch the stream and maybe those who don't. I have been putting this off for months for a plethora of reasons, not least of which is my own discomfort with technology of all sorts. I did not have a cell phone of any kind until well into the Obama administration, and I still reluctantly deal with them. I kind of capped out an email, and that was about it. A little bit of Facebook, and called it a day. But obviously, that is not going to work for the storyteller for a streaming game. So here we are. This is this is what you're going to get, at least until my feeble video editing skills improve, if they ever do. So we're rocking the 2012 YouTube feel. I'm trying to do this so that our amazing producer Justin, who already works more than a full-time job and is doing the job as far as Darkeport is concerned of literally about half a dozen people, does not have to edit these videos or put anything extra in, because he will kill himself to do that. So we had to talk about that. It's like, let me do this, even if it's, production quality is kind of awful. But I'm hoping to get some important information out, some useful information for prospective storytellers. This is going to be obviously a lot, I shouldn't say obviously, but this is going to be a lot more raw than what perhaps you are used to seeing for this kind of thing in the streaming space. I honestly wouldn't have it any other way. I have never pretended to have this figured out, and I really want to be as authentic as possible as I'm taking this journey. I'm a really private person, and there's now video evidence of me breaking down on camera and kind of losing my stuff. It's there. I won't name the episode right now, but it's been a lot. It's been a lot. And finally, we arrive at the point where I can kind of get into some of the material behind the scenes, so to speak, and really talk to how you, making your own stories, can employ some of the things that I've been experimenting with, and some of the things that I think I have pretty well down. So today I want to talk about, in that context, today I really want to talk about the centrality of theme, specifically theme-based storytelling. Different video will go into the differences as I see them between storytelling and game mastering. I consider myself both a storyteller and a game master. There is significant overlap, nice Venn diagram, but they're not exactly the same. Just a little different emphasis on the two. And for my lights, one needs to be able to go back and forth to both as the situation calls for. So I started storytelling, GMing, focused on plot. And I think basically everyone does, right? Plot is just what you do, what happens, who does what to whom, maybe a little bit of why, although that starts to get into the second category. That's pretty much the basics. It's a very logical place to start. And if you've been running games for a long time and that's where you want to stay and that works for you and your table, more power to you. Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Plot's fascinating. It's said that Shakespeare ran essentially every plot that we've been riffing off of ever since, the Bard. Not Stevis the Bard, but the Bard in real life. Put it down, put quill to parchment, so to speak. I don't know. Modern world, probably different stuff going on there. A little bit different. Although humans haven't really changed. So that's one era. My second era was characterization, where, and I would say that was probably about the time that I ran into Vampire the Masquerade, although that was that first chronicle was a transition. I use the words chronicle and campaign for the novels interchangeably with each other, kind of like storyteller, game master. There's a little bit of a difference, but conversation for another time. And that was the really important era too. We can do some videos down the road about characterization, show not tell, foreshadowing, character constellations, how I approach archetypes, what the limitations of that are. I mean, all that stuff. I think it's good. It's thought provoking, even if nothing else. I think it's of value to people who are really analyzing this and feeling their way through it. There's an interesting discussion to be had about, and I want to be precise in my language here, about more masculine forms of storytelling and more feminine forms of storytelling. That does not necessarily mean the way that men tell stories or the way that women tell stories. That's, there's a wide spectrum there, but there is kind of generally, and even in the current campaign in Darkeport, you can see where I've really tried to embody elements of both and make sure that both are present and I'm able to go, back and forth and also blend them together as is appropriate, even within the same scene. Different conversation. This video might be a little bit long as it is, so I'm just trying to kind of plant some seeds, lay some markers, and we can circle back around to them. So specifically the centrality of theme versus plot or even characterization. And I do have some notes. None of these are going to be scripted, obviously. It's not my style. Never has been, never will be. I do have some notes in my little matrix thinker brain, aka how you make lemonade out of ADHD lemons. So when one is constructing a campaign and one looks at what you want to express there, I will use the current Darkeport campaign as an example as we go through. Before anything else, before I thought about who the big bad evil guy or big bad evil gal was going to be, before I thought about what happens, before I thought about how the war unfolds and the defense of Germentum and all of those things, I determined what themes I wanted to explore. This is a really different way of approaching world building, campaign building, storytelling, all of that, than what I typically see. Usually discussions revolve around either what happens, plot, or who's doing it, characterization. So the two themes in Darkeport were sacrifice and the indomitability of the human spirit. That's what I told our amazing music director, Steve Gurnis, when he was making the intro. We really worked on that song, and I think it conveys that masterfully. Full credit to him. And once you understand what the themes are in the campaign that you want to run, and I guess I'm speaking here mainly to GMs. That doesn't mean that I should probably do an interview with Randy on this. He's incredible with this, but that doesn't mean that there isn't a use for this for players. There absolutely is, and I brought this to my own PCs as well. So you can absolutely mindfully, deliberately explore themes with characters. We do anyway. That's kind of like the dirty secret of this, is that themes pervade everything that we do anyway. So getting ahead of my skis, but you can even retroactively apply what I'm talking about to an extant campaign, right? So once I determined that there was going to be that those were the two themes, sacrifice and the indomitability of the human spirit, then I sat down and really ran through what situation. Then I started thinking about plot. Then I started thinking about characters and archetypes, geography, huge, all of that. There's a kind of a saying among the Civilization 2 players, if you know the game. Yes, that was the game that I played the most. Geography is destiny. So that's going to figure into any ancient world situation very very strongly. So I thought about that, and let's see here. So I thought that obviously to explore sacrifice, you need a time that requires sacrifice. To explore the human spirit, the resiliency of the human spirit, you need a time that challenges that, sometimes severely. And because of my own background as a combat medic, proper terminology is a hospital corpsman, but as a combat medic in Iraq, 2003, 2004, what came up for me, again, different conversation, because this is not the story I thought I was going to tell. Campaign 2, what I have planned for Campaign 2 is actually the story that I thought I was going to tell. But it came to me second day of this project that what we were going to be telling was a war story, because I can draw from my own experiences. I have a very good idea of what that is to live through that, having lived through that in real life, and that absolutely fulfills both of those themes pretty powerfully, if you ask me, pretty clearly. There were other things that came with that, and before I filmed this, I was debating how much to get into how to tell a war story. That is a separate topic, but I'll just mention a few things, and you'll see why. So it's like, when I'm approaching telling this story, I'm not thinking about the triumph of it. I'm not thinking about the glory of it. I'm not thinking about any of that. And one of the things that I've told my players, and that I don't need to remind myself, but that I keep in mind as I'm GMing the current campaign, is that there can be heroes, and there should be heroes, and there absolutely are acts of heroism on a battlefield. There are no superheroes. No one is immune to the effects of this war. I don't care how tough people think they are, even fictional characters, but especially in real life, like, everybody gets affected by it. Everybody gets affected by it. Some people less than others, and some people recover faster than others, for sure. Not saying, that, but ain't nobody going through that without any scars to show. So sometimes some very dark things come of that, and people even learn to enjoy it. But even that, I found is oh, that's adjusted. All right.